Guys, I knew I would be a stand-up comic when I said, give it up for me, it's my first time on my wedding night. And I did give up. I recently found out that my imaginary friend from childhood wasn't real. Who have I been praying to? I would like some of those prayers back. Some of them were embarrassing. Especially the one where I prayed that I would marry the first person I dated. I went to the mall recently to get some mascara because they say it makes your face better. And I found this mascara and it was called Better Than Sex Mascara. So I tried it. It was about the same. They both gave me a UTI. I went to pelvic floor therapy recently. Woo! Yeah, I went to pelvic floor therapy and I wanted to make sure my therapist was legit. So I had her point out on the pelvic floor model, I had her point out where the clit was. I was way off. Ladies, do you remember when you couldn't wear spaghetti straps in like high school or maybe church, right? Because it would make the men think impure thoughts about Italian food. I asked my youth pastor Trevor about this. I was like, Youth Pastor Trevor, what about fettuccine straps? They're more modest. And he was just like, that's a gateway noodle. What does that mean? Gateway to where? Sin City, Sister City. Temptation Unincorporated Township. What? Can't they incorporate? Why? Ashley, were you homeschooled in the 90s? How dare you? Yes. I was homeschooled in the 90s. Back then you didn't have to do it. There was no global pandemic forcing you to keep your kids at home. But there was a more insidious threat. And that was that public schools were teaching children that dinosaurs were real. What? I'm glad my parents taught me at home. Well, kept me at home. There is about as much school and homeschool as CBD has real drugs in it. Trace amounts. A typical day of homeschool for me, I would just lie on various surfaces around the house without my parents' supervision and bolt to my bedroom if company came over, so I do have the same education as an indoor cat. Don't feel sorry for me though, Mama made sure I had plenty of wet food. That sounds gross. She made us dinner. It wasn't like incest or anything, like the dating pool was slim, but none of my brothers were hot. And I did not want to have their mom as a mother-in-law. My parents let me go as Garfield one Halloween so I'd have something to aspire to. Oh, that's sad. Wow. I got to be about 18, 19 years old though, and they were like, we gotta get this old cat out of the house. So here's what they did. They made up high school transcripts for classes I never took so that I could go to college. Because it's really hard to find a college that's willing to accept an indoor cat who made an 800 on her SATs. The Christian ones do. I got to Christian college and I realized there were a couple deficits in my education. I got there and that's where I got the sex talk and the algebra talk. They were both harrowing. For For sex education, one time at Christian college, we had a chapel speaker who came in to give us the talk. So we had a professional Christian sex haver at our chapel giving us the talk, and they divided the men and the women. And the men, they taught about masturbation, and the women, they taught about eating disorders. So I still don't know if Jesus wants me to swallow. It is unclear. Ashley, were you one of those weird homeschool kids who didn't have any real friends? I had a friend. My American Girl doll, Samantha, from Historical Times, New York. Heard of her? She's kind of a big deal. She was orphaned. She went to live with her grandmary. Her Uncle Gard and soon-to-be Aunt Cornelia would come and visit her every once in a while. You'll learn more about that in Samantha Saves the Day, where she is master of both worlds. I love that doll. I loved her so much. We were thick as thieves. That is where I learned how to French braid and how to French kiss. It is all about the two front teeth clacking. Save it for your wedding night. No, use it tonight. I don't care. He said, don't make my mistake. We did everything together, though. I would brush her hair a lot. I was like, you gotta look good or they'll send you back to the orphanage, Samantha. Which I realized was an empty threat. I didn't have that power. But I brushed her hair to such a severe extent that her head fell off. And we had to send her to the American Girl Doll Hospital in New York to get a new head. Guys, give it up for all the frontline workers in New York City at the American Girl Doll Hospital who were replacing heads for sad little girls in the 90s. Yeah, you know how much a new head cost for her? $35, which is pretty good. If I were to give birth to a human head, I'd do the torso and the rest of it too, but if I were to give birth, it would cost me $25,000. More if I don't want to bleed out. Which, why on earth would I have a baby when I can have 714 doll heads? That's a lot of doll heads, and that's a lot of friends. Cum is one of the top 3 fluids of the human dong. The other 2 are blood and urine. But if you think about it, cum is getting the lion's share of the credit, while blood is doing all the heavy lifting. Where on earth would cum be were it not for blood engorging the dong, allowing it to rise to heights hitherto unforeseen by human eyes? It's so beautiful. So the next time you see cum, thank blood. Sure, Ashley, those are the primary fluids of the dong. What about the secondary fluids? Are you gatekeeping those? That's not very feminist of you. I tried feminism. My boyfriend let me get a library card. Big mistake. Do you know how much access I have to books about birds now? Ask me which direction Canadian geese migrate to in the winter. Ask me.
Which direction?
South. Also, birds are dinosaurs, which makes me think if birds are even real. The other fluids of the dong are, of course, sweat and tears. I love